3, 2, 1. We are live.
You're now watching two old farts making noises.
Joe, do you want to know why some businesses succeed and some businesses fail? Why some businesses grow and some businesses don't? That's what this show is all about. Business, business, business. I think David secretly wants to be a rock and roll star. That's all I can say.
Why is that, Stephen? Why is that?
Because that intro, I love that intro. We have another intro on No Snobs or Knobs, which comes on after the show. And that intro reminds me of a 1960s, 1970s cop show. It's just I'm like, David secretly wants to be a composer is what I think. Because all the intros that he does are very like, oh my God, seriously? So it's very funny.
He's doing it, though. He's
doing it. I gotta love it. Before we start, let me just say this. I am wearing Steve the Creator, which is the painting behind me that Rusty did from Rusty's Art. So Rusty. We can do that. And today, he's a few seconds late, so we didn't get to talk to him. So this will be fun. Is going to be a gentleman named Kevin Wolf. He's in the green room right now. He just popped in. So Michael, now that we got the merch stuff out of the way. So if you want one of these, go to the merch below and you can get one. Now, let's more serious topic.
Oh, very serious topic. Very serious.
Well, that was serious. Now, Dim Sum Darling, if you're watching this on a Saturday morning, which you would be, closed on Friday the 15th of December, and we want to thank New York for coming out. It was a beauty. So there you go, guys.
That's right.
All right. Well, let's talk about Mr. Wolf, who's coming.
That's right.
I read his book with Hansel and Gretel. It was very fascinating. But what do we got?
No, we've got Kevin Wolf, who's pioneered a new type of wind turbine, and this could be a way to actually gather wind that is not harvested in traditional wind farms today. So this could actually make current wind farms even more productive than they already are. So this could be a very exciting conversation with Mr. Wolf about how these innovative wind farms could really shake things up for the wind farm technology world.
Cool. Well, we'll bring Mr. Wolf. Let's run a commercial, then we'll bring Mr. Wolf in, and then we'll have some fun. Here we go.
Okay. Let's do it. Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club.
Ooh, that was good. And we have another commercial for later, but that's the cartoon commercial.
And stand by for another good commercial.
Yeah, but not right now. But let's bring Mr. Wolf in. Mr. Wolf, welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you.
Very good to have you. Especially given the climate talks that are happening, that have been happening. You're shaking your head at it already. This is good. This makes for good content. But first, Kevin, thank you for coming onto the show. Why don't you give us a little bit of the background, a short background about Wind Harvest, and because this has been the Wind Harvest company, it's an almost 30-year project that we're talking about.
It's actually over 30 years.
Over 30-year project.
Yeah.
So this is something that's come to a new milestone with your crowdfunding and your prototypes. So tell us a little bit about that.
So it started with a dream. This guy named Bob Thomas, who eventually ran the California Energy Commission's wind program in the 1980s and started the whole wind farm business in California. In 76, he has a dream, and he's at a Carl Jung retreat. And at that retreat, Sam Francis, the famous abstract artist, and a guy named George Wagner, an environmental lawyer, came to him afterwards and said, "Hey, that reoccurring dream you told us about, you should figure out what it is. We'll start a business to help you figure out what that dream actually means." And he said, "Well, it involves a wind turbine, a vertical-axis wind turbine." And so they funded the Wind Harvest Company, and Bob quit his job and started the quest to figure out what that dream actually meant.
Did he ever find out what that dream actually meant? Or were you ever finding out?
It was a star. He's climbing a cliff, and on the cliff there's a star, and he's hanging on by his fingernails. And only when he reaches the star is he able to get up over the cliff. And so this star, he says, okay, if I put a vertical axis wind turbine, I'm an aerodynamic engineer. I'm an expert in wind. If I put stators shaped like an airplane wing in the points of a star, and I put a vertical axis wind turbine in the middle, the wind can come any direction and it'll focus into that vertical axis turbine. So he built a little copy, puts it on the back of the trailer of his truck and drives it around at steady speeds to collect data to see how it works. And that's how the thing started.
That's amazing.
Oh,
that's
cool.
amazing. Because now so Kevin, your history with the Wind Harvest Company, I mean, you've done quite a bit of work to become the CEO, taking over as CEO, then facilitating manufacturing and certification and engineering. So how did you come into this?
So I'm a graduate from UC Davis with a degree in evolution and ecology, but I'm really becoming a river activist because I'm a river guide in the summer. And in 1981, I'm on this VIP trip, and this guy named George Wagner is there, and he's a VIP. And so we spend 2 days with him. And that evening, we're talking about 3 Mile Island, which had happened in 79, the OPEC oil crisis that happened in 79, and the thinking that we'll eventually go to war in the Middle East over oil. And then we knew that Carter had written the global warming report in 79, 80. And it was like, we can't have coal and oil and gas. What is the solution? Oh, it's to dam the right rivers. Well, if you're a river guy, that's a terrible solution. So he told me about wind that night around the campfire. He told us about this company and Bob Thomas. And I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. So in 1984, they got 3 turbines up in Concord, California. And I go meet them. And I meet the inventor and his son and see the turbines operate. And oh, I'm really like, this can do it. And in 1990, I make some money in real estate here at N Street Co-Housing. And which my wife and I founded here in Davis, California. And I invest in their company. So I'm an investor.
So all you have to do is invest and you get to be CEO. There you go.
What you get is an inside thing. So they're building a project in the UK on Prince Charles's property with Zond as their partner, 15 megawatts of tall turbines and 5 megawatts of the small ones. That was the vision from the very beginning. Make use of this near ground wind. The tall turbines capture the smooth laminar wind at above.
Yeah, help us visualize that a little bit, because for the listeners on the podcast, I mean, what are we really talking about? They know, I think people know about the existing very tall wind turbine farms. And how does this add to that?
So that's called laminar flow. It's smooth. It's during this sweep of this turbine is 100-meter diameter, right? And 100 meters, it can change wind speeds over the course of that whole sweep. And at the bottom, if it's turbulent, that blade shakes, and the horizontal drivetrain the blade is connected to at a single point causes that drivetrain to shake, and the bearings wear out. Now, if you have a problem with bearings wearing out on a turbine that's on a hub height of 60 to 80 meters, you got a problem.
Yeah, that's a lot of stress on the actual device.
Yes, so they keep them out of turbulent flow, and they separate them far apart from one another in the wind farm, so they're not in each other's turbulence.
Which, interestingly, you have this whole, now we'll get a little technical here, and then we'll have to explain it for the audience as well. I had to look this up quite a bit. Coupled vortex effect. So this is actually a benefit to bringing your devices closer to each other so that they can actually complement each other and be more powerful.
So those stators I was telling you about, the 5 on the star, they were expensive. A lot of surface area to wind, and a lot of concrete and metal had to go into those. So Bob came up with this idea, and he noticed from some of the testing, and he said, if I put these turbines a meter apart from each other, 3 feet, I will get an increase of the wind speed in the gap. And because the lift force on an airplane wing or a turbine blade is the square of the wind speed across the blade, if I can increase that wind speed even a little bit, we'll get an increased lift and torque on the turbine.
And that proved out. I mean, that's
Yeah,
that.
he puts in a turbine, runs it for a year, collects data, and then I start with them training my company's time, Wolf and Associates, for shares in the company in the year 2000. And so I go down and help them with this thing. I go down and actually help them build it, and then they put 2 turbines on either side, and then nothing has changed in the center turbine, nothing. But then you collect another year of data, and it's like, wow, the energy output of the center turbine increased by 2x in the lower wind speeds. And in the upper wind speeds, it was 20-30% increase in energy output. And that was the coupled vortex effect. I helped them get a patent on it. And so in 2004, there's a patent given for the coupled vortex effect.
So now you've got the patent on that, which is amazing. Congratulations. That's a non-trivial effort. For people who want to Google this, would you say this is a mid-level turbulent wind farm? Mid-level turbulent wind farm. Is that the phrase?
So it's a mid-level turbulent technology that can go into wind farms, but it goes into any place where shorter turbines can fit.
Because they're only how tall are they? These turbines that you're talking about.
What are we talking, meters or feet?
Let's talk feet.
Yeah, because the American public's too stupid. Everybody that listens to this outside of America knows what it is. Let's do it this way. Give them both. So when you said 60 meters before, that's 120 feet.
Yeah.
So, 80, which is 240 feet. So you can still speak meters. We just have to explain it in English to the people that don't understand what the metric system is.
Yeah, so in the world of wind, everybody talks meters per second.
We'll talk meters.
Talk meters then.
They talk hub heights as meters, so I'll go into feet. So the top of the blades are maybe as low as 58 feet above the ground. The bottom of the blades are take 12 to 15 feet above the ground. And these are straight blades, extruded blades, and they swirl around with the axis being vertical. And then you can get them as high as maybe 85 feet in this version. Other versions maybe 100, 125. If you go too high,
underneath the other turbines.
Exactly. If you go too high, the turbine's too tall, you create turbulence for the next turbine, the horizontal. So you have to stay under them.
Okay.
But
you work concurrently with them then?
Pardon?
Everybody knows the Palm Springs, right? You go out there and they have the big wind farm, right? That I think powers the casino. So when you go there, would I put your creation, for lack of a better word, or in technology under theirs to complement? Or can I just say, I have my own country, I want to put a bunch of your technology in my country, and I don't need the other?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
So the great study came out of Caltech that said, if you put these vertical axis turbines underneath the tall turbines and you counter rotate them so they swirl down vortices, and these vortices have a low pressure zone in the middle. And low pressure means it'll bring the faster moving wind from higher above the ground towards the ground. And they put 16 small little vertical axis wind turbines up in Antelope, and they did these field tests with all this instrumentation. And Caltech figured out that, in fact, it does. You put these verticals in, and it brings faster moving wind towards the ground. And if you build out fields of wind farms with verticals underneath, you should see a 10% or more gain in energy output of the taller turbines.
That sounds significant to have that kind of impact on massive fields of wind turbines.
Yes.
Certainly.
So why isn't everybody grabbing your technology? And I'm looking at your funding page, and you're trying to raise. Hold on one second. Trying to raise, I think it's 300,000. You're at 154,000. When you're doing debt, which is fine. So why isn't everybody throwing money at this, or big companies going, we should compliment you? Is it just because General Electric and Westinghouse and the rest of them don't care? Or is it like COP28 was a bunch of BS and nobody really does care because we're just going to stick with fossil fuel until the planet blows up?
I think there's too many failed renewable energy technologies have lost hundreds of millions to billions of dollars for the venture capitalists. Okay. I can rattle them off if you'd like to hear some of them. Everything from Solyndra to Makani Kites with Google to Ogen shrouded wind turbines to fuel cells to batteries to Bright Places batteries. It goes on. And these failed renewable energy technologies has caused the VCs, and I probably talked to or rewritten and tried to talk to 150 VCs over the last year and family funds number of them say, we'll invest. We like your technology. We want a lead investor. We want somebody who knows hardware, who put in $2 million, will spend the $20,000 to $30,000 on the due diligence and take the board seats.
Right.
And they all say, no, we won't do that.
So they want somebody that, if you will, has the cojones to be the first guy to write the check.
Correct. And
Okay.
no one will be that first guy.
Interesting. Even
That
with
is-
all the technology that's out there and whatnot. And have you gone to like the different family offices? Have you done speaking engagements and like, and the place that I don't know if have you been to the Middle East? Because in Dubai, they would love this. They'd eat this up in a minute and a half.
Yeah, well, I've got people who connected to people in Dubai and I haven't got responses back.
And
So
you need to go.
you
That
do
people
now,
connecting means nothing. You need
Yeah.
to go press the flesh, my friend. That's how that works.
but I need an introduction. I just don't walk into Dubai and say, hello, I got
No,
these.
you go to a family office conference in Dubai. You
Uh-huh.
spend the money, you become a speaker, you set up your wares, and you get your 30-minute speech on what it does and what it can do and how much money you'll make, and they'll be like, that's awesome, and they'll talk to you. Unless you know the prince and your person knows those people, even inductions in Dubai, like I have people that introduce us to people in Dubai, and they're somebody. So
Okay,
if they're
well,
not somebody, meeting people in Dubai, not gonna work. But the Middle East will love this because they're always looking for things. Especially because of in Saudi with their NEOM and Qatar's doing whatever they're doing, and UAE has more money than God, and they're just spending it on everything they think is going to make them money in the next 50 years. So
well, I like that idea. Okay, so I will follow up on that.
All
There you
right.
go.
Kevin's got a follow up. Nice.
always, Kevin. Here's what we tell everybody: always listen to the Jew. That's the way it works. Just stick with the Jew. That's it. You make money.
That's that guy. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
That's right. Seth MacFarlane's Harvard speech. Always
So,
have a Jew
Kevin,
as a friend.
why is it that the actual wind farms that are in operation are not taking on this, let's call it a complementary turbine to increase their output? Because, as you know, too hard, too much wind, they shut the turbine, and there goes your electricity production. Meanwhile, you could have your wind turbine up and still operating. So why aren't they picking it up?
Well, so I've talked to 6 of the biggest wind farm companies in the country, very high level folks in it. And they pretty much all had the same answer. We're in the business of developing wind farms and owning them. And we want to be agnostic on the technology that we buy for them. And if we invest in your company, then we're no longer agnostic. We're going to be buying our own product that we've already invested in. But we very much want your product. So once you got it through certification and you got a third party to certify it, we would like to work with you on pilot projects. We'd like to figure out how to get this into our wind farms.
Okay.
Right.
So
let me ask you this: how much are you trying to raise right now? Like, what's the goal? I mean, so everybody, we'll put the links if you want to read more about Kevin's company, and you can, if you want to invest, talk to your investment advisor. You have to be accredited, yada yada yada. However, so what are you trying to raise, and then like, what's the use of funds that what are you going to do?
Well, I went to Dubai and I got a family
Right.
office when I'd go back and get the $10 million raise.
Okay, but
And
on what you're doing right now, what are you raising?
I'm just doing the bare minimum needed to get through certification by the end of the year.
And how much is that?
That's technology readiness level 8. We finished technology readiness level 7, a full-scale prototype in industry conditions, which is very turbulent conditions, at the UL Advanced Wind Turbine Testing Facility in Canyon, Texas. So that's where we'll put the next 2 turbines. Got to put 2 for the coupled vortex effect.
Okay.
And we'll sell that project and pick up the 30% tax credits. And so I can make some money there. But the rest of it is roughly $3 million in money. And we're going to be starting a new crowdfunding round in January, in which we're going to be allocating common shares.
Okay.
And the common shares come at a discount to the preferred shares. And anyways, it's quite a complicated little thing. But most of these crowdfunding things like Start Engine and Net Capital, where we're going to be at, don't want you to do notes like we've been previously doing. They want to have shares. And so that's what our board and shareholders are going through right now. So that's
Okay.
going to be the offering. Presently, we're raising money on notes. So if people like notes with warrants that come with it, they can go to the Pick Me crowdfunding site.
We'll put the link. So this is basically they're doing a 7% debt, a 7% rate. Maturity date will be December 31st, 2020 or 2027, and it falls under the red crowdfunding 4A6 and blah blah blah. We'll send you the link. You guys can all read about it if you have an interest. But yeah, I think people prefer preferred because they don't understand debt.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and there is some upside. We gave warrants.
Okay.
But really, the upside in a company is owning shares, especially before the company has finished technology readiness level 8, before it is bought up or goes to an IPO. As soon as you get to the final end of the commercialization process, which very few companies ever do, your valuation significantly increases.
Great. So what's your ultimate goal? Just say somebody sees this, because our show is global. Who knew? So say somebody in the UAE does see this, or someone in Eastern Europe or Asia goes, you know what? I really like this. And they're like, so what's the end game? Like, what's the exit strategy? Is it just to become a behemoth and be $1 billion wind farm technology company? Or is it to say, we've proven everything and someone come write us a check for $1 billion, $2, $3, $4, and we're done?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it goes, so who's that lead investor? Who has those board seats? Now, if you ask me what my preference is we license our patents to Vestas and GE and Mitsubishi and the Chinese and everybody. The market is so enormous. It's the low-hanging fruit. It's already zoned. The roads are already in place. It's already got all the infrastructure. Just build it out around the world. These are some of the windiest sites in the world, the 20% of the wind farms that have good near-ground wind because they're topographically shaped in passes like the San Gorgonio Pass or on ridge lines where wind speeds up near the ground, 20% of them. That's the easy pickings. And it's hundreds of thousands of megawatts. And the big companies need to come in here and help build this out because no one company can supply the product. So we've got these patents for hinges between the arm and the blade and the arm and the mast. We've got hexagonal mast so you can bolt everything on, no more welds. And we've got inside of the blade so that it's very easy to bolt these things on without epoxying plates. We figured it all out and we've patented it. And we got to get through technology readiness level 9, which is banks will finance your customers. To do that, banks need 6 turbines operating for a year, or conservative banks want 50 turbines operating for 2 years and an insurance wrap. But banks need to be able to finance your customer. That's technology readiness level 9. That's the last step in the wind turbine commercialization process. And so the larger the amount of money, the faster we can get through technology readiness level 9. My vision is that, yeah, we get 15% of the market. We're a Wind Harvest brand. We do all kinds of interesting things. And we're the leaders in the patenting and technology part of it because we've got such a big head start. And we're the only ones who got the aeroelastic model at this point. But we think we're the only ones. And then we sell some of it, but really we're a licensing company. We make most of our net income from the licensing of our patents.
Okay.
What happens when the tax credits disappear, or if tax credits disappear for this kind of technology?
Well, what's really cool about things is that one is that learning progressions occur with all technologies, and so the price drops. And so the great thing about the tax credits is that a company like ours, starting with technology, when you're doing 2 turbine runs, 10 turbine, 50 turbine runs, they're expensive. But when you get to 10,000 turbines in a year, or 50,000 turbines in a year, then the price drops dramatically. And you get all these learning questions. You learn how to do things better and less expensive. So the wind turbines had a 14% learning curve for 10 years. We'll never reach that curve because we have to keep small. We can't keep growing to stay in the wind farms. But we'll see our price of turbines not need the tax credits in like 5 or 8 years when it gets to that kind of scale. It'll just be less expensive than all the other alternatives for building out wind farms or adding to the understories.
So
Even
go ahead, Michael. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, even with the maintenance on these things, I mean, you show that there's a photo of the tall wind farms and then the smaller turbines, and it's like a 5-to-1 ratio or 10-to-1 ratio of how you would do that. So what's the maintenance on these if you're going to do that at such a huge scale per
So
farm?
it's pretty cool. The horizontal axis turbines have yaw mechanisms to turn their blades into the wind. It's a big thing. They have blade pitch mechanisms to pitch their blades when the wind gets too strong so they shed load. We don't have those. We don't have a gearbox. We only have cartridges, grease cartridges for the bearings in the drive shaft and the generator. And then we have air filters. And that's pretty much it. And it's close to the ground, and it's very easy to maintain these things. We expect our maintenance price to be half the cost of the maintenance price of the horizontal turbines per megawatt.
Okay.
So,
And then,
wait.
John.
No, I was going to ask, what's the lifespan of a turbine?
I'm so glad you asked that. So, to make this damn thing work near the ground, the engineers, we put out these full-scale prototypes, and you learn a lot from them. You got your models, and it's very predictive. And now we paid the best aerodynamic company in the world, Iapara, out of Montreal, to figure out what is the best size blade. And so we changed the size of our blade. We made it larger. We figured out how to change the wall shapes and inside of the blade so that you didn't have to do anything else to that blade. You just bolt the device, the connecting device, onto it. And that led to these patents. And through the process of figuring out if you're going to have 15 million revolutions a year on this thing, and each revolution there is a push and a pull. So now you're at 30 million torques on a piece of operating machinery in a year. Boy, you better have figured out a way to handle the forces on that. Well, a hinge works with a pin, and the forces are now in the pin in the hinge. And we got a patent for that. And so that all of a sudden becomes a way to make this thing last. Well, once we did all that, we figured out, well, the blade lasts 74 years. That's the minimum fatigue life on the turbine. And everything else with 20-year refurbishing, replace the pins, take the bearings off the generator, put a new new bearings in the drive shaft, put a new inverter in, and the damn thing lasts another 20 years, and then do it in year 40, and then do it in year 60, and about year 74, your blades start to wear out from fatigue, and then that's the end life of your turbine, somewhere around 70 to 80 years.
Cool. That's pretty good.
And then how much is it if somebody wants to buy one? Like, just say I have 20,000 acres, and I'm like, I want to put these on my property. Like, how much is one to purchase? Where I say, I want you to run my 20,000 acres, my horse farm. What am I looking at?
What year do you want to put it in, and how big is your project?
Okay.
And we aren't doing small projects. We won't do less than a megawatt or so, unless if it's
Right.
a pilot project that leads to a much bigger market. Right? Why maintain a couple turbines? This is really at the 1 to 10 megawatt distributed wind energy size, or it's really in the 10 to 100 megawatt size.
So if I'm a small town, so I need a megawatt. How many of your technology do I need? And then roughly what's the cost either of that, or what's the cost of just one?
Let's say you're in a a 14 mile an hour wind resource. We would put 60 kilowatt generators on, not 75. If you're in a California wind farm, we're going to put 75 kilowatt generators on because there's so much wind speed way up high. But so we put 60, so that's 16 turbines.
Okay.
And 16 turbines, we'll say it's the year 2026. So we're not doing many turbines, and it's fairly expensive. So we're going to pick up a 25% margin on the turbine, and we're going to have a cost of goods of around $2,500 a kilowatt.
Okay.
So we're going to be selling the turbine for somewhere around $3,200 a kilowatt. And that makes us $3,200 a kilowatt is $3,200,000 a megawatt.
Okay.
So that's the cost of the product.
Okay.
You're going to pour foundations for each. You're going to put in conduit and a transformer. You're going to connect to the grid. You're going to install them on towers, and you're going to all that's another probably $1 million a megawatt. So now we're at somewhere around $4.2 million per megawatt.
Okay.
Now you get 40% back on that because it's a U.S. made turbine, and we meet the requirements. So 40% back on that, you get your $1.6 million back right away. As soon as the darn thing connects to the grid, you get accelerated depreciation over a 5-year Macker's depreciation. And then you get a long-term power purchase agreement. And you got a turbine that can last for 50, 60.
Who am I getting the long-term power purchase agreement from? Because in Europe now they can't purchase it because they've got too much power. So I'm not worried about, I'm assuming you have an ice box that's going to hold excess power. So my thing would be, I don't care about make-believe electric company purchasing it. I want to just run my town. So that would be it, because I think what's going to happen is at some point it'll be like in Amsterdam, the power company put solar and wind and everything in their neighborhoods, and they did. And now they won't buy it from them because now they have too much. So let's forget the buyback for right now, and let's just figure so for me to power my town is roughly, we'll say $20 million, and I'm good to go.
Yeah. So let's give the town of Rio Vista. It
All
is 10,000 people down near in Solano County in the Bay Area.
Yep.
It's got 10,000 people in it. We have a proposed project that we would run through PG&E's line, but it would be with Marin Clean Energy, which is the community choice aggregator in Solano County. They would purchase the energy for probably 6 to 8 cents a kilowatt hour, because they also get the 100% renewable part of the thing that their customers pay a premium for in the area. So it would be a mixture of solar and wind and battery. We did the study from Travis Air Force Base, got 10 years of wind speed data. And from April through September, the wind blows at night almost from after sunset to 3 or 4 in the morning, almost every single night from April through September.
Okay.
Now you add batteries in and you collect the energy from the solar and the wind that comes in the afternoon, and you release that energy after sunset, and then you charge it up again at night from the wind. And then when the wind dies off in the morning and before the solar comes on board, you discharge the batteries again until the solar starts coming up around 9 or 10 in the morning. And then the wind comes up around noon or so, and you get this great double use of batteries. So you could deliver about 10 megawatts of energy into that distribution grid. From a ranch nearby, about 3 or 4 miles away, and you could practically provide all of Rio Vista's energy needs from that 160 square acres of land.
Okay. And so it sounds wonderful. So why then haven't they jumped at this opportunity? Is it because you're not, and you'll forgive our ignorance on this, certified 7 and 9 and 26 and 30, and they can't get financed and all of that? Or is it just that it takes them a while to get their heads out of their tuchus?
So first, people don't trust that you got a technology that will work until it's third-party certified. So that's the first checkout. PG&E wants $70,000 to study, and then we already know what they're going to do, because we have paid some great experts on helping us figure this out, is that they're going to want $1 million to $3 million to increase the capacity of the lines, because they don't do a very good job of taking care of their infrastructure. And whenever a project comes online, they squeeze as much money as they can out of that project to pay for improvements of infrastructure.
But they do good at burning down forests. So is there a forest there that you can burn down? Because they'll pay you, I think, if you can burn down a forest. So
they are not good at maintaining infrastructure. But if they can get a company like ours to pay for it, they're going to squeeze us. So we know that. So the nice thing about
so you're $20 million now, let's just say, because this is like everywhere else in the world. Everybody's got your hand in your pocket, except they don't call it bribery and all this other crap in America. We just call it infrastructure. It's going to run 25 million now, right? Because I got to pay P&G to burn down a forest and to help them with their infrastructure. I've got to give $70,000 here, $1 million here, and before you know it, there's a lunch at dinner, Asian hookers and scotch and cigars in the video, and I'm running for president. So basically, it's $25 million. But then, if I'm the city or the town or the little county, what's my payback after I gave you this 25 million or whatever? When is it I'm at a net zero and I'm like, hey, this just paid for itself, and I'm a resident going, it was well worth the extra $1,000 a year in my tax?
So first, it doesn't work that way. It goes to a company owns, a limited liability company owns the project, gets a power purchase agreement with the community choice aggregator, and finances it, and it's run completely separate. Rio Vista just sees lower energy prices over the long term, because they got an asset that's providing them energy that will last the length of a dam. Anybody who owns a dam in California, like Stockton East Water, they They have the least priced energy in the state, SMUD over in Sacramento, because those dams last so long, and then they're amortized at, and their mortgages basically paid off, and then it's free energy.
Right.
And so that's the long-term benefit of owning an asset that lasts a long time.
So
wouldn't
so in theory, though, Ria Vista could actually own the LLC if they
Sure,
wanted
they
to.
could own it all.
Okay.
They could finance it out of revenue bonds, out of this.
Right.
They could do all kinds of great things. I mean, there's
Okay.
great ways in which these cities can secure their long-term future by being the owner of these projects.
Gotcha. But we're all waiting for you to get you're at A, now they're waiting
Certification.
for you to get to C and D.
But yeah,
Yeah.
they want us to get through 9. They want us to be able to go to a bank and say, "Let me use your turbines as collateral for a loan."
Gotcha.
Just a
Yeah.
question.
Interesting.
Sorry, I had a little bit of technical issues there. Is there an inherent sound level difference between this type of turbine and a standard turbine?
Yes, the tip speeds of a standard turbine are between 150 and 200 miles an hour.
Mhm.
And that makes a lot of the sound.
Yeah.
And then a horizontal drivetrain, the bearings, the way they are, they've got a lot of weight of the drivetrain itself on the bearings. But a vertical axis turbine, the bearings are just holding up a stick spinning between it, and they don't have that down force on the bearings. And our blade tip speeds are between 40 and 80 miles an hour. So those are the two reasons why vertical axis turbines are just inherently less noisy or quieter than the large turbines.
Okay, so they don't create because it's kind of like a bird's nest on its axis, right? So it doesn't have like a whirring sound of its own, even though it's
that's you have to get close to it. You're underneath it. You'll hear a little whirring sound, sure, but it
Okay.
attenuates very quickly, and you're 90 feet away, 30 meters or so, 100 feet away. You don't hear it.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if you have 50 or 60 of these things, you can hear it in the cheap seats.
Yeah, but the way the sound works, it doesn't work that way. It's not an accumulative thing.
Okay.
They're all down there at the low 50, 40 decibel range, and the decibels all attenuate at the same time.
Okay.
Very cool. Well, that was cool. So,
Yeah.
Kevin, we appreciate your time. And I hope that the people watching or listening, because it's a podcast as well as a YouTube, the links will be below. If you want to invest or reach out to Kevin, feel free. If you can't figure out how to do any of that, reach out to us here at the show. We'll put you in touch with Kevin. And if you want, come back next year and let us know how you're doing. It'd be interesting to hear as the technology progresses and investors progress. And if you need help in the UAE, reach out to me and I'll direct you on what to do. So
I appreciate that. I will do that.
Kevin, it was a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. Have a nice day.
I think you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Have a
Kevin.
great one.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
All right, he's gone. Let's run a commercial. But not that commercial. We'll run this
Making
commercial.
the right connections is vital to your business and professional success, but reaching out to strangers is awkward and mostly a waste of time and resources. Imagine a world where AI takes the hassle out of networking. Enter Hero, your noise-free professional network powered by AI. What's so cool about Hero? How about getting your own AI networking assistant that's dedicated to solving your challenges by handpicking connections and opportunities that are right for you? But Hero does more than just meaningful matchmaking. We equip you with a customized storefront accessible to anyone on or off the Hero network to help enhance your brand and boost your revenue, making it easy to turn those meaningful connections into valued customers, all within Hero. Hero is networking as it should be, meaningful conversations with well-meaning people without the noise. Join Hero today and harness the power of strategic AI networking.
I feel like I want to go to the doctor's office after that. I don't know why. I miss the music. So
Logo. It's got a cool logo.
and I've used it. It's actually pretty cool. So they're growing. So we'll see what happens with that.
Nice.
They'll be on the show one day, I'm assuming, as well. So that was interesting. That ties into the COP20, but I think he's missing a big market in the Middle East because they're always looking and they have the money. And
Yeah, that's
$1 million.
that's the big difference. That's the big difference. The money is there.
Yeah, and he wants 10 or $20 million. That to them is like 15 seconds of interest. And if they really think you have a viable project, and it is windy in the Middle East, they could have a whole bunch of wind farms in the desert. I don't know how that would work, but it would seem to me that it's just like we have the Foreign Corruption Act. So he's saying, oh, if we go do something in California, you got to do. But it's just the U.S. corruption. I mean, it's like it's all the same crap. It's without saying you're taking a bribe. You're just helping them. So, but I hope he does. I hope he does well and raises money. So we'll put his links. And remember, check with your accountants, your attorneys. Don't make any investments on what we say. We have no clue. So just make sure that you get all the legal advice you need.
Just entertainment. That's right.
Entertainment. John's going to sing it's entertainment later today.
It's it's entertainment stuff. It's not financial advice.
That's very true. So, all right. So now we're going to do our next favorite bit. John, are you ready for this?
Welcome to this week's Lost and Found, uncovering dollar winners and losers, where we discuss dollars lost and dollars gained by various companies and projects.
Sounds like the Old West theme. I should be calling you ma'am wearing a hat and tipping it. That's crazy. So,
the upright piano in the background is the.
I think so. Yeah, right. I feel like she should be like a saloon girl. Yeah, like remember Gunsmoke? You guys are too young, but Gunsmoke, like Miss Kitty. Like, hi, Miss Kitty. What are we doing tonight? All right. Well, let's start with Kurt first, and then we're going to go to John, who's never ready, and then Michael, and then I'll do last. And since we don't have David. Well, let's one the other. You
got to fill that one, Stephen.
Yeah, we'll fill it with something. All right, Mr. Kurt, what do you have for us today? That's a Canuck thing.
Band Lab. It's actually not Canuck. It's from the other side of the world, but it's music software that combines both social aspects. So musicians get to share their music online, write the music online. There's software out there that do similar things, but I think this is much more social oriented. I kind of played around with it once back in the day. It is cool software, and it is contributing to a lot of new music coming out. They raised 65 million last year. They got 25 on the books for this year. So nice. I guess that's a good found and different, interesting.
Cool, good for them. That's like almost a David story. I like it. Thank you very much. All right, John, what do you have?
I've got two for you. All right, so Argentina elected a new president, and he assumed office this Monday. And on Tuesday, they announced a package of economic new policies. They devalued the currency 50%, so it went from 367 to 800. The free market is at 1,000, so eventually it's going to just go there. They just wanted to make it in 2 steps. So I don't know. I think it's a good move, but if you have any kind of local currency, then you lost a whole bunch of money. But that's that's the pain you have to take for a country that's had, say, it's 120 years old, 113 years in fiscal deficits. So that just tells you how bad the situation is. The other one, that's a $1 lost, depending on
lost dollar. Unless you're shorting the currency, I guess it's a win. But
yeah, if you have dollars, you're doing okay. And the other one is definitely a lot of dollars lost. This University of Pennsylvania, Harvard, and MIT. They're because of the Israel.
The unpleasantness in the Middle East.
Some people are not pulling their money out. So I think they've lost a lot of donation money there. I mean, hundreds of millions probably.
That's a big one, because they couldn't denounce genocide on Congress.
Well, the other thing which is interesting about what John just said is I know on the campuses you just mentioned that they said anti-Semitism is at an all-time high, where Jewish students are getting harassed just going to class. And the presidents are like, there's a difference between free speech and, you'll have to pardon my French here, use your fucking brain. You know what I mean? It's like,
just have some principles, have some principles and values, stand by.
But they don't understand the history of it. They're just like, Israel's doing terrible things. I don't know if you realize this, but Israel didn't go over and start it. Hamas came over and started it. Israel's just finishing it. This is called, just for the kids that don't understand, it's called war. It's not a video game. It's not a movie. This is war. This is what happens. People die. full stop. And it's not right on either side. But if you come attack me, hey, you get what you get. Yeah. So, but unfortunately, we had this discussion on No Snobs or Knobs, which is coming out after this the other day. The kids today are just stupid. They're just stupid. They don't read. They don't know history, and they're just parrots. They see something on TikTok or this and that, and they go, bah, 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 and they're idiots. So
and TikTok is run by our good friends in China anyway. So
John loves them. They're his favorite people.
Yeah. Soundbite society versus knowledge society, right?
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Mr. Michael, what do you have for us?
Well, I do have a very, very positive, very found dollar for Lahaina in Hawaii. So, you know, they had those tragic fires, and one of the most famous 100-year-old banyan tree was thought to be injured in the fire, and it was, but 60% of it is coming back. So there's a very positive movement over there. A lot of volunteers are taking care of it to bring it back to health, and it looks like the tree is making it very successfully. So that's very positive for a very tragic situation.
Yeah,
very nice. And let me end on COP28, which was in talks. I will not read this article. We read it on Funny Haha, but the press release that came out that talks about how they're going to get rid of fossil fuels says we may possibly thinking about it, not quite sure. We'll have to get back to you when we're going to end fossil fuels. So to me, that is that's $1 for everybody in the Middle East because they're still selling oil, and it's kind of $1 lost, but not really, because I read all the stuff out of The Economist that says even if they stop fossil fuels tomorrow, we've already passed the 2 Celsius that we need to be at. It's the end of the world, and now they want to give sun lotion to the clouds, so the clouds will help cool the planet with tanning lotion. So. Yeah, that was in The Economist, among a bunch of other things where I think it's Portugal and Spain now are leading the world in green energy for their country. So congratulations to them. So that's the positive note for us, for the lizard people, the Illuminati trying to take over the world and kill all of you. We'll just have to wait a few extra years. So we're good with that. So other than that, that's it.
Fix is in. Yeah.
The fix is in. So everybody have a wonderful Saturday morning. Thank you for joining. We'll be back next Saturday. I think we have another guest next Saturday.
That's right. We do have another guest next Saturday, and that's going to be our good friend over at Dahal Kaushik or Kaushik. Right. Yes, he's what is he doing now?
I don't have any idea. I think he's gonna sing naked, stand up naked, and sing show tunes. We'll have to find out next week. So it'll be very exciting. And next week is Kurt's last show, I think. Correct?
That's correct.
All right, we'll have a big goodbye party.
Let's say because Kurt's going to have his own show.
Yes, he is. He's going to have his own game show in 2024 on a network. So we're very excited about that.
It's going to be very silly, very irreverent.
It's like every one of our shows, apparently. So nothing different, except Kurt's the host. And everybody's invited. Everyone's invited from all the shows to come on. And if you're just a normal person and not on one of our shows, you're invited to come on as well. So reach out to us and we'll get you on the show.
We invite stupid people too. Stupid people are good.
Got 360 million of them. They live in America. You're good. So, all right, boys and girls, always a pleasure. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. Have a wonderful holiday. We'll be back. I think we're doing shows throughout the year. So we'll be here for your Christmas, your New Year's, and everything else. So for the Jewish fans, hope you enjoyed your Hanukkah, and we'll see everybody next week. Cheers, everybody.
Welcome to this week's Lost and Found, uncovering.
Or not that, maybe after hit the right button.